Time is running out for Listener Request Month. You have until April 15th, the stroke of midnight, 11:59, on when the 15 become the 16th.
As I always quote Cinderella, the last echo of the last toll of the last bell of midnight.
Yes. You have until then to get your requests in. So pick that phone up and call 856-347-7328. That's 856-DISSECT. Back it up if you need to hear the number again. Call us, let us know your name, where you're calling from, and the movie you'd like to hear us do. Quick little description. Keep them under a minute, and we will pick your selections for Listener Request Month sometime in April, end of April, leading into May. Very excited about this, one of our favorite times of the year. Get those calls in now. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers, and with me, as always, is a man who, like me, still needs to read the instructions every time he changes wiper blades, the Macho Mandrew.
Andrew Lano. I bought new wiper blades, and they've been in my trunk for 6 months. I still need to replace them. Like, they still kind of do that skipping thing.
It takes like a minute.
It does, but I just keep forgetting.
I outsource all car maintenance except filling up the washer fluid and the wiper blade changing.
I also now I have a back wiper, which I guess I got my car in 2020.
Yeah,
2020. I was in my old place, so I should replace that one too. But I'm like, now I have to figure out the size for that one and how to do it. So one step at a time.
It should be in the manual.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Or you could just Google car, year, make, model, wiper sizes.
Well, I could probably do it in the app because I have a Ford, so it's got the special app.
Yeah, the Ford app. Yeah. I don't know anything about cars, but I do like this movie.
I know how to change tires.
That's true. I could change a tire. We are celebrating the other half of John-uary here at the end of March. Thank you, COVID, and other various things. So this is our second half of our John Carpenter birthday month celebration. Sorry, John, you're 2 months into your.
We could say it's for Jamie Lee Curtis.
Sure.
That'll be the tie-in.
Yeah, it's Jamie Lee Curtis somehow celebrating her Oscar win with a movie she is not in.
No.
Big brain.
Carpenter, you know.
Big brain. We watched Christine, so you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your possessed car. Something about your possessed car.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So we got two personal faves involved here. We got Stephen King with the original book this is based on, and we got John Carpenter, who obviously I love.
Mm-hmm. Have you read the book?
Yes, once a long time ago.
Okay, so you have like very base level knowledge of the book, I assume. Like you don't.
Yeah, this follows the book pretty closely from my memory of it. It's basically like Arnie gets the car takes over his personality, and then all this kind of happens.
Okay.
So there are several lines that I remember from the book that are verbatim in the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Including the one about really gross, but the old man who sells him the car is like, the new car, the finest smell in the world, except maybe for, and I was just like, oh, they're doing this exact line from the movie. How about that?
Bingo!
Or from the book, rather, sorry. I feel like this is a weird pairing for Carpenter and material.
Yeah, he definitely treats it like, I don't want to say treats it like Halloween, but like he treats Christine like she's a person.
The shape, yeah.
Yeah, he treats Christine like she's the shape, like she is a person, a character, which I think is good, but it is definitely a weirder pairing.
Yeah. I feel like his movies are always sort of methodical and slow, and I don't mean that as like a bad thing, like slow is fine, but this movie at this pace has always felt a little weird to me, is I guess what I would say.
Yeah, I can see that. I also have a few like weird questions. It's sort of like Gremlins that I'm like, well, what are the rules? Because you're not 100% clear. And this was on IMDb. It says like the opening sequence of Christine being quote unquote born in Detroit was added for the movie. The book gives no indication of her evil origins. And I was like, it's not an evil origin. It's a car fact. It's not like Satanists walked in and like wiggled on like wrote in blood on the hood. It's just a car coming down the line. Like it doesn't answer any questions.
Yeah, and so like that's something I was thinking about. So this movie, we start with we just jump into it. So we're on the auto line, which is
we start with Bad to the Bone,
it in a very cool way.
Which
yes, and
that was
what I was about to say.
Second good needle drop. Third for me personally because Parent Trap, but second good use.
Did they do Bad to the Bone and Parent Trap?
Yeah, when they're playing poker, and then American Lindsay Lohan comes in and says, "I'll take a whack at it," and she's got a sock full of quarters that she's swinging back and forth, and they drop.
Is she like wearing a leather jacket or sunglasses?
She's wearing sunglasses and her like satin like varsity jacket.
Okay.
Because British Lindsay Lohan is like killing everyone in poker.
I see.
Or maybe it's flipped. I don't remember. It's been a minute, but
that's great. Very good. Yeah, this is a song that I feel like if you heard it on the radio, you'd be like, ugh. But like used right in a movie works fine. Here it's good.
But again, there's only the three. There's Terminator, this, and Parent Trap. All the other needle drops are just like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like it became like a directed DVD comedy needle drop. You're right. It probably didn't cost very much. It's not like George Thorogood was super famous.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And frankly, is like, hey, I'll take your check.
Sure.
No shame. No, if someone to pay us for our podcast, I would let them do it.
Easy movie shorthand, I guess. But
yeah. So it's like, it becomes, the default song when the guy in the weird National Lampoon sex comedy direct-to-video is, gets a makeover or whatever.
Yeah, that's very specific, but yes, I see it.
It's like, I just like all those ones I never watched, but you'd pick up the cover and it was like some woman whose head was cropped out, but it was just her boobs, and then three dudes doing the whoa face. It's
Van Wilder.
Yeah, right. Like the Van Wilder origins or whatever the hell. And it would be like that kind of movie would use it, is how I feel like I see it. But yeah, you made what you said made me think about this though, is like, so the cars are rolling down the assembly line, or I guess this is more like inspection line. Like
they're doing last looks or final.
Yeah.
Quality control. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably what this stage of the assembly is, and all the cars are white or sort of a cream color except Christine. And so, like, I thought we were gonna do some sort of like blood in the paint thing.
I mean, I'm glad there's no solid explanation for why she's red.
Yeah,
I will say that. Because when Stephen King tries to explain too much, you're like, okay, we're already in the weeds.
Yeah. Back up a tick. Hold on. But so it's these awesome looking. It's a '58 Plymouth Fury. Great looking car, fins, chrome, all that stuff.
I've said before Christine is my dream car.
Yeah, it's an awesome.
Like when people
car.
talk about that, I was like something like Christine, and people like the possessed car. I'm like, yeah, like it's
cool.
Look at it.
Looking. Yeah,
but convertible.
Yeah, the problem is those cars look amazing, and then you ride in them, and it's like being inside a washing machine.
I know. I want that car like chassis, or is that what you call it?
Yeah.
The outside.
Yeah,
and then just
frame chassis,
and then put all the good stuff in there. Give me the Bluetooth.
I'm surprised this hasn't become a thing where it's like you put modern suspension in this old looking shell. So that
bet it is
beyond
somewhere.
The radio and stuff. Yeah. Beyond the radio stuff you're talking about, they also like the suspension.
Well, yeah. I just
shock absorbers, like all that stuff. It's just like the cars can rattle your teeth out.
So did old hoods not have that pole support thingy?
I guess this one didn't,
because it's 1958, which might as well be 1,000 years ago in terms of any kind of safety for anything.
Also, this hood probably weighs 3 times as much as the hood of your car today.
Oh my god! Like, it probably weighs more than my car. The hood weighs more than my car.
The weight of a Plymouth Fury is probably 3 times what a modern like crossover SUV is.
Yeah, because her first attack, some guy lifts the hood and puts his hand on it and like goes to inspect something and it drops. And I've seen this movie before a couple times. But this was the first time I've watched it in a while, and I was like, immediately my brain like clicked in some weird way, and I was like, Okay, I'm going to think of Christine as a strong, independent woman who won't take disrespect from anybody. And if you think of it that way, suddenly a lot of this movie makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good point. It's sort of exactly the character. You've nailed it in one there.
Mm-hmm.
I did look it up. Christine doesn't weigh that much more than a modern similar vehicle. That's surprising.
Really?
I guess. I bet what it is the modern safety features are heavier. Airbags.
Oh, that makes sense.
The more elaborate seatbelts, because like Christine definitely just has the little lap guy.
Yeah, probably.
There's no shoulder harness on a Christine seatbelt. I would not think. Also, while we're pegging this movie in time, so the car's 25 years old at the time the movie happens. Although
it's 20.
Arnie says 20. Well, the car is a 58 Fury, and this movie came out in 83.
But it takes place in 78.
Oh, you're right. We are. If it takes place in 78, it is 6 years before the law changed to make the drinking age 21, which is why all the high schoolers in this movie can very easily buy beer.
Gotcha.
And I kept being like, they just walk into the liquor store. There's not even like, hey, I got my fake ID. It's like, oh, right. The liquor laws changed like relatively shortly before I was born.
Yeah. Your drinking age can be whatever you want, states, but if it's under 21, you can't have road funding.
Yes. But there's a couple great shots here in the beginning. I love the guys in the bay underneath the cars.
I always love that, like, as a concept, that someone's job is to be under there, like mole people.
Yeah. Well, it always freaks me out whenever I do one of those like Jiffy Lube type where you like drive through and they do the oil change, because there's always somebody underneath. And
mine isn't up. Mine has a lift. I don't think mine has it underneath. It's too small.
So, yeah, the one that I used to go to by my old job had the guy as underneath, and it was like you'd drive in, and I was always just like, well, hope my car isn't the one that falls through the floor and kills a person that I have to live with forever.
They also don't let you drive in anymore. You pull up to the back and give them your keys, so it's on them.
Yes, yeah. But still, like, you're watching it happen, you know? It's like, it would just be such a horrific thing to watch your car do that. But I love that. And then there's a really great shot off the side view mirror of one of the cars of the guy who's the inspector walking down the line. And then he comes to Christine and does, just before he gets his hand smashed, like you said. I really liked both of those. But his hands get mangled, and then another guy comes, who I looked up and didn't write down what movie he was from. He's a character actor we've featured on this show before, but he's in this movie for 45 seconds, so I'm not going to feel too bad about this. But he's smoking a big stogie. He gets in this car, everything is like covered in plastic, protected as it's transported and stuff. And then he like sits down, exhales a big puff of stogie smoke, and then ashes on the front seat. I'm like, my man, this is a new car. What are you doing?
I know it's plastic covered, but although, you know what? I would be willing to bet that most things in the late 50s, early 60s just had
true.
A smoke smell.
a fine layer of ash on everything.
Between cigarettes and cigars, it was just like everything kind of had a little smoke to it.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish that Christine had like specific car-based power. Like,
sure.
The seatbelt can strangle you, or she squishes someone later. But she clearly also has some kind of like ethereal magic to just like choke people to death.
Yeah. So
what?
I distinctly remember there being a seatbelt related thing in this movie, and I'm wondering if I'm confusing it with the Futurama episode that riffs on this.
Which honestly, I like a little better.
Well, it's the shorter version of the story. This story is not a 110-minute story.
This is a 90-minute story. Like, come on. They're also remaking it, apparently.
Carpenter doesn't make movies like that. Yeah, I saw that in the wiki, but it's been so long since there's an update, I would be surprised if that wasn't, like, quietly dead.
Yeah. Although I think you could do a little more with it now, like, logistically.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking, I was like, so does Christine need gas? Because
that's a good point.
I Googled it, and the average miles you can go on one tank of gas for a 58 Plymouth Fury is 257, which is like nothing. So if Christine is chasing you, just go get higher ground, baby. Go up a concrete structure, whatever, and then just wait, because 257 and she's dead.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Christine needs gas somehow.
No, but a little bit of explanation for that, because in Futurama it's like, oh, it's a electric car, which is exactly what the new one would be. That like,
yes,
it's They wouldn't say Tesla, but it would be a Tesla.
Yeah, it would definitely not be a vintage vehicle, but that would be tough because I feel like the part that makes this make sense a little bit is the fact that it is an old car and he does have to do a lot of work on it. And it's sort of like the...
Oh, you mean like fixing it up?
Yeah. Like I feel like the reason why Christine selects Arnie, so to speak, is because he does all this work to the car and sort of like makes the effort. He goes, and he's scrounging for these parts and he's doing this and that on the car, the wiper blades and then this hubcap and the stuff that we see him doing, to which Christine is like, okay, you're worthy of my powers. And then she sort of bestows them on him.
Gotcha. I also it wasn't...
That's how I take it anyway.
I like that read. It just it wasn't clear to me because Arnie eventually figures out that Christine is alive in some capacity, but doesn't...
Right.
But doesn't quite seem to realize she's murderous, but also kind of does. And so I was...
Yeah, I don't know how to read that either.
That drove me nuts. I was like, give me something. And I don't want Christine to have a voice, but I want Arnie to talk to Christine as though he's... Yes. With silences and then him respond. I want him to have full conversations with a silent car.
Yeah, I like that idea. And I think if they did it now, they would do the cuter thing of it'd be like Bumblebee and the car would use the radio to talk back, which I wouldn't want.
No. Well, no.
It's the idea of what you're talking about.
These days, it would just be a Tesla that has a screen and can drive itself and will talk to you because it has a little onboard thing.
Yeah, that's probably true. Keith Gordon is the actor's name who plays Arnie. This is a great example of a thing we've talked about a bunch on this show where you get the right circumstances, the right director, the right script, the right, time in the life, and you can get a great performance out of somebody who doesn't give them in other places that you don't, it's and no disrespect to Keith Gordon, but this is far and away the best work of his whole career.
Oh my God.
And he's very good in this movie.
His crazy face, crazy eyes is unmatched.
Yes. And we did Back to School not that long ago in the show that he's also in, and he's fine in it.
Yeah,
it's not like
he's there.
Awful. Right. He's replacement level, maybe slightly above replacement level, but here he's genuinely very good. It's an excellent performance, including his intro. So we see Christine, and then we flash forward. We see the kills happen, and then we
one kill
flash forward.
I don't think she. Well, sorry, I hope that guy doesn't die from that. Although it's the 50s, who knows?
Yeah. Sorry, we got to cut it off. What? It's just a broken finger. No, it's coming off. This is a 10 out of 10 nerd performance, and it's done. And credit to Carpenter for the staging and the person who picked out the outfit, the costume designer, and Keith Gordon here as well, and the actress who plays his mother, whose name I didn't write down. So I apologize.
Rose Nyland's daughter in The Golden Girls.
Oh, that's right. I knew I recognized her. Her IMDb is
wild.
It's 100 credits, and all of them are one single episode of a television show, basically.
Yeah, I think it's the episode where Rose is bad with money. We find out, and she's her husband is bad with money, and she lied about it his whole afterlife or since he died. So her daughter's oh, let's go through the finances, and she's there isn't anything. Because she didn't want to say that her late husband was bad with money.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I know the one you're talking about. But so he's late for school. His friend Dennis comes to pick him up and honks on the horn. The mom is doing the typical your radio's too loud kind of thing.
Eye roll, white lady.
Yeah. Out comes Arnie, dressed like a huge nerd. The physicality of his performance is really nerdy. And then of course the trash bag blows out. And he's just you can see the oh my God, I have to do this now. And the mom's just I'll deal with it. You go to school. Here's your lunch. And he's sort of tiptoeing through.
No, he's splashing. She's tiptoeing. He's a doofus, and he's just splish splashing through the puddle because he has no elegance.
He looks like he's trying to tiptoe though. He's coming down like an elephant, but only on the ball.
Yeah, maybe.
Of his foot. But it's great. And then
I will say I wish they did a little something with makeup to make his face look splotchy or pimply.
Yes.
Because later the bullies call him Pizza Face, and I was motherfucker, his skin is porcelain.
Yeah, you're right. And it would also go a long way toward the sort of transition landing, because what they do instead is the classic, he takes his glasses off and he's hot now.
It's prom night too. It's Hello Mary Lou, literally.
Right.
80s to 50s.
But it's like, it should be that his skin clears up and he, his hair, gets a new haircut or whatever. Instead it's just like, hey, I don't need glasses anymore.
Well, then he turns into a greaser.
You don't need them. Yeah.
Which is so weird.
But I love the mom being like, try and keep this cold. There's a yogurt in there. And I'm like, lady, what do you want him to do?
Like,
yes. Do you expect him to just like break into the teacher's lounge and put it in a fridge? What are we talking about?
We're not in the reusable era or where you could throw a little freezer pack in there if you need it.
Right. Like you needed to put a little baggie of ice cubes in if you wanted to keep his lunch cold.
Yeah. It's also another movie friendship of like, why are they friends?
So here's my read, and this isn't what the movie tells you. This feels like we grew up on the same street or we went to the same summer camp, right? And then ended up going to high school together. And so we have this established friendship, but we're now outside of the context in which our friendship makes any sense to anyone. And so we're both.
What year are they? Oh, they're seniors, right?
I believe,
because I think
he says we should apply for the same colleges next year. So they might be juniors. Yeah. But this is the big conversation between the two where Dennis is like, hey, Arnie, I think it's time we get you laid. And I was like, well, it seems like there's a number of hurdles in the way here. Namely, Arnie's not interested.
Yeah, namely, Arnie himself is just sort of like indifferent.
I don't need you to do that for me. I'm not ready yet.
Also, he says, you need a girl to get laid. And I was like, well, you don't need, there's other options.
It was 1978.
I know.
I do like, though, the different social thing is like, there doesn't seem to be, because you would think this would turn into, oh, this guy is losing his mind. I don't give a shit about him anyway. I have my cool football friends. See ya later, nerd. But he genuinely seems to care about Arnie. He's wanting to be part of his life, and he comes to his defense and tries to. It's weird in this opening scene because a bunch of people who are Dennis's friends are like, "Shut the fuck up, Cunningham. You're a loser," and he doesn't do anything to help him out.
I agree, but then also like Arnie's clearly chiming in the same like razzing your friends way, and I'm like, these are good razzes.
Yes.
So like, it's weird that he's not a part of the friend group.
Right. And it's very clearly like you're not in this circle and you're acting like you are. And so it makes everybody a little awkward. We go to shop class where he's being bullied by, I swear to God, this actor is 24. I looked it up and did the math. He looks 40 years old.
Well, first of all, he's dollar store John Travolta.
Yes. Dumpster behind the dollar store John Travolta.
John Travolta in Carrie, specifically, I will say. It literally looks like Carpenter was like, I want that one. And they were like, well, you can't. That movie's 6 years old, and he doesn't do that anymore. He's like, that one.
Yeah.
I want that one. Yeah.
Like, okay, this is his stunt double?
Yeah, exactly.
Does that work?
It's crazy.
Yeah, 24 looked very different in 1983.
We've had this discussion before.
Yeah. So Dennis Arnie's being bullied, and this bully escalates to pulling a knife, which I feel like is a very different category of bullying. This is much, much more dangerous. So Dennis is like trying to help, and he ends up knocking the knife away from the main bully, and the second bully gives him like a seatbelt grab and then reaches around and just scrunches his nuts. It's one of the wilder things I've seen in a movie.
I mean, effective though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it puts him down. I thought it was going to be like a knock at the door, like
a punch.
Club to the nuts. Yeah. But no, he
it's
just
a squoze.
A squoze.
He also stabs his yogurt, which I always remember.
Yeah. Because it's like, it doesn't act like yogurt. It acts like a milk carton.
Yeah,
it pours out.
Very bizarre.
It's more Go-Gurt-like than yogurt-like.
Definitely more of a running Go-Gurt, for sure.
Yeah. And the teacher drops in, sort of saves the day, de-escalates this a little bit, but does the classic teacher thing of, well, bullied kid, why don't you tell me here in front of your bully about the bullying that happened?
It's like, hey, buddy, no.
There's a reason they use interrogation rooms and stuff for these kinds of things. Like, perhaps you could take some of the students to the office and ask them individually what happened.
Although, to be fair, Dennis did already say John Travolta was being a bully and pulled out a knife. So Dennis is already accused. He's already been.
Yeah.
Is it Goody Proctor? Who does the accusing in?
I think that's right. I think that's right. But the funny thing is like, there was never any part where it was like, oh, Dennis is going to get the blowback. It's like, well, they're going to kill Arnie now.
Yeah.
Because of what Dennis did. So they're going home that day in Dennis's car. Arnie's like, stop the car. And he gets out, and we see Christine for the first time truly having fallen apart.
It is a mess.
In the side yard of this home, owned by the guy from Home Alone, the mysterious neighbor, Mr. Marley.
Yeah. And he's wearing this weird back brace that looks like a parachute.
Yes. Or like an old bulletproof vest. Or I couldn't stop thinking about this. The life jackets from the movie Titanic.
Yes. I mean, I haven't seen Titanic, but yes, I know the reference. To me, there were all the straps, and I was like, it looks like he's parachuting. He's going to pull the cord.
Yeah, it's definitely a back brace, but I was like, why are you showing me this old man in his back brace? Like, shouldn't he just be in a tank top? Like, wouldn't that make all of this easier?
Because he's the weird harbinger.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking about later is like, did Christine hurt him?
I mean, that would be a fun little flavor to throw into the movie, but with a 110-minute runtime, how can you spare any minutes? You know? There's nowhere to fit it.
Yeah. There's nowhere
in 110 goddamn minutes.
Detail. Yeah, this movie is one of those ones that has like a really solid opening 30 to 40 and a really good last 30 to 40, and you're like, most of this middle you could have chopped.
Yeah, we could skim.
Yeah. So they go back and forth about buying the car. Arnie ends up spending what in today's dollars is about $800 on this car, which seems pretty crazy.
Yeah, I didn't think to do the math on that, but today this car is worth $250 max.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, somebody who knows how to do the work that Arnie does could probably do it. We had found out earlier in the movie that Arnie's parents were furious that he took shop class, which seems so ludicrous to me. Of like, no matter how smart your kid is and what college they're going to get into, and whatever advanced degree you think they're going to get, like, you don't think they have the use for like basic home and car maintenance skills.
Yeah, his parents are weird because at first it seemed like his mom is his stepmom. Like the way it was described almost sounded like a stepmom, but that's not the case.
Yeah, and not in the way that you pervs out there are thinking.
No, not like that. And like, she's not like a religious, like she doesn't have any, there's no reason for her to be as harsh as she is. And his dad doesn't seem to be particularly harsh. So it's sort of like, well, I need something here.
The dad seems like the pushover who goes along with mom's tough discipline stuff, and she just seems like a hardcore disciplinarian for reasons we never really see in the movie, but they're incredibly hard on him. So we're in the kitchen,
because like normally the kid you're hard on is like the kid that like he's got hard on. Nope.
What?
The kid that like his parents are really hard on him and like mean is the kid that's like underachieving. Or like
a fuck up.
Yeah. Or it's like I am the football star and my dad, is a pusher. Right. It's not often you get like I'm a nerd. I'm a high achieving nerd and my parents are mean to me. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And he rattles this like you feel for him very well here, both from the performance and the writing too, where he's like, "Hey man, you wanted me to be in chess club instead of the band. I took the chess club. You wanted me to get good grades. I've gotten straight A's. Like, what? I've done everything you ever asked of me, and I earned the money to buy this car. The only thing I'm asking you to do is co-sign the registration, which I'm also paying for." And I'm like, there's really no argument against this kid.
Yeah, I can't.
Right?
It's so weird. I needed more. Again, I needed a little more like explanation for this.
Yeah, but again, where do you find the time?
Exactly. Can't
110 minutes. You can't squeeze.
There's nowhere to trim.
I'll point it out here as well. Our boy Dennis drinking just a full glass of milk for no reason.
Well, because also
a cake or cookie in sight.
Mom seems to hate Dennis, and I'm like, okay, but why? Because he's like football star, like popular, nice guy. So I don't get why you hate Dennis. Also,
right. There seems to be no indication that Dennis is anything but like an average or maybe he's above average student. Like he's not clearly not in the smart classes with Arnie, but he's not an idiot. Like you see him speaking, he's like perfectly intelligent. Isn't like a bad kid, right? It's not like he's smoking.
He's not, and he's not drugs. What was Leave It to Beaver kid who was fake?
an Eddie Haskell.
Yeah, he wasn't an Eddie Haskell. So I can't figure out
it's
why.
Inexplicable. And they're like, you shouldn't have let him do this. And he's like, I didn't let him.
I told him not to, and he ignored me. What am I?
Yeah. And then I just love the scene button where Arnie storms out because the parents are like, you can't keep the car here. And Dennis is like, well, thanks for the milk. And just leaves the house. So we go to take it to this garage where you can, it's like a public garage. You can rent space to work on your own vehicle for people that don't have that space at home. And it's owned by Robert Prosky.
The ticket taker from Last Action Hero.
Well, I was going to say a really great run in the early 90s where he was that gentleman as well as the bus driver who hits on Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was that.
I hope you have something nice and warm to go home to.
He likes the European look, right?
Yeah. When the
hosiery falls?
Stocking falls down her hosiery. Yeah. Why that line lives in my brain.
The warm thing?
Who the fuck knows? Yeah.
I don't know. What was his name in the last sec? I wrote ticket taker everywhere, but he had a name. I feel like I remember.
Yeah. I'm not going to remember, but
I remember everything else about that stupid movie. But
yeah, that movie fucking
it
rules.
does. I don't say stupid derogatorily.
Okay, I was gonna say you're gonna end up getting that movie annexed into. Our rules are gonna be 78 to 92 plus Last Action.
No, I'm fine with that. I really like it. It's just too long. Is my only critique of that movie.
It is too long, but that movie is fantastic.
It's brilliant.
It is.
It's the action version of fucking Roger Rabbit.
Yes, it's one of the few times when I was right then and I'm right now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, I had a dissenting opinion then. Like most people thought it was shitty, and I was like, no, this is great, and I was right.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
History has made me correct.
Is that one that people talk about now?
I definitely think there's been some positive reevaluation of Last Action Hero in the last 5 to 10 years for sure. I mean, it's not like, and I wouldn't even go, it's like, oh, it's a masterpiece.
No,
like,
but it is a very good movie.
It's a genuinely great, fun movie, yeah.
That I'm shocked hasn't been remade.
Yeah.
I think we've had this conversation before.
It was a disaster. Yeah. They put it out the same fucking week as Jurassic Park. It's like one of the most inexplicable decisions
what were you thinking?
Ever conceive. Yeah, you really thought Steven Spielberg doing a dinosaur movie wasn't going to be a just unbelievable, unbridled smash success? It's truly one of the most incomprehensible release decisions I can think of.
Yeah, I wouldn't put anything. I would put maybe like an animated movie.
Even then, this is going to be like a big. It's just bonkers to me. It's inexcusable and inexplicable, is what it is.
I agree.
It's like Spielberg coming off what he had come off of leading up to that.
What was his last movie before that?
I mean, I guess you're correct in that was like sort of the non-blockbuster period where he does like
Cocoon.
I've actually
no, that was Ron Howard.
Not yeah. Always is the title of one of them. I'm pretty sure he does some like drama stuff in that time period. The Color Purple might be in there too.
Oh, I forgot he did Color Purple.
Yeah, I've decided I give myself a dumb little entertainment project every year. Last year,
this is your Steven Spielberg year.
Yeah, I'm going full Spielberg. I'm going to finishing out the catalog, which is like, other than the Tom Cruise movies, is mostly just the depressing dramas. So it's going to be interesting to see what this is like.
Yeah.
But I've been going
Lincoln.
I watched a bunch of his TV. Yeah, I'm going to be doing Lincoln and The Post and Munich. It's going to be Schindler's List. It's going to be a tough year.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Christine's in the garage, Prosky's there, and Arnie starts working, and they do like a nice couple of shots here, not quite montage, but showing Arnie doing all this work on Christine. And there's this great bit with Prosky and another guy who clearly works there, hangs out there all the time, being like, would you look at this kid? He's doing the windshield wipers, and then he's got, a broken windshield underneath.
He's doing this as if he has ADHD.
Yes, yeah. Well, when they showed the Arnie out in the lot, like picking through the parts, like the Prosky, and we learned later, Prosky was like, you can take anything you want out of the trash pile. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, no shit, he's doing it piecemeal. He found the wipers, and then he was like, okay, I'll put these on. And then I go out and find a hubcap. Okay, I put this on.
Yeah,
like,
fair.
What do you want him to do? Make a big pile of parts and then work in order? It's like, yeah, of course, he's trying to get some, as you said, ADHD. Needs the dopamine pop.
That's how that works. You start one thing, you realize that you have something to do the next thing, so you're just going to jump to that real quick. And while you're doing that, you realize, oh, hang on, here's a piece for this other thing in the back. Let me go run to do that. And before you know it, you got a quarter of the car done, and none of it makes sense.
And your wife's like, weren't you going to hang that picture today? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Also, I installed these shelves that I cut and built and fitted myself.
Yeah, or for me, it's always like, oh, yeah, no, that's still curing, the 3M hooks. They need a cure for an hour, and in that hour, I realized I had all these other things to do. So, timer's going off.
I should see a doctor. But this rolls into this great bit with Prosky having like the inability to communicate of all men of this era, where he's like, "Hey kid, what are you doing digging through all my trash pile? I told you could look in there." But
he said, all of it. I didn't realize you were gonna rebuild your whole car. I thought you were gonna take a few things or something.
Yeah, and then he's like, "How about if you do some things around here and we call it even and I pay you for it?" And it's just like, oh, okay, like you're trying to be nice, but you just don't know, you just truly don't understand how to do that. Like you do not possess the skills required to just be nice here.
Apparently in the books, he's a smuggler of some kind.
That I have no recollection.
Arnie's like working for him he's working for him as like a runner. I don't know what he's smuggling, but that's what Arnie's doing.
Okay. Interesting. Probably drugs, knowing Stephen King at the time.
Stolen car parts? Isn't that a thing?
Yeah, that would make sense if it was a chop shop. That would be the more logical thing if it was a chop shop. But I feel like this is great. This interplay is great because Arnie is like, oh, I guess I'll think about it, with a big smile, like very clearly being like, oh, thanks, but like sort of playing the same game. And he's like, well, don't think about it too long, kid. Jesus. And then
or I'll throw you out. And it's like, well, there it is.
It's like, okay. He was playing the game that you opened the door to. What the fuck are we doing here?
So now Dennis is in what I thought was study hall in the library.
Yeah.
And they're talking about the new girl in town.
Is it not study hall?
I don't know, because later he sits across from the new girl and the librarian's like, did you get lost? Go back to your seat. And I was like, it's a library.
Oh, I think the librarian is trying to be like, you're pestering this girl. Stop it. I thought she was trying to be like good friend.
Could be, but I was like, what do you mean his own seat? This is a library.
Yeah, doing some library flirting with Lee, the new girl, and we find out just shortly after this, after she rejects him, she's like, I already have a date for the football game. We find
she's
out
kind of a discount Nancy Thompson.
Yes, and also in the last scene, her hair and clothes are basically Laurie Strode's outfit from the end of Halloween. It's like a blue shirt and blue pants, and the haircut is the same.
Yeah.
Although her shirt is like open with another one underneath. I was like, wow, did you just like take Laurie's outfit and hand it to this actress? But we find out Christine's previous owner died inside the car. And then Dennis goes to see the guy from Home Alone, who proceeds to rattle off Christine's
all of the deaths
list.
All of the deaths that have happened in around Christine.
And this is the point of the movie where I was like, oh, that explains Christine's 3 teardrop tattoos on her windshield. It's like that explains a lot. I was wondering why it had those.
Yeah. So it's old man from Home Alone's brother killed himself in the car last. His wife killed herself in the car first, and then his daughter choked to death in the car.
Yes.
Which is one of Christine's weird nebulous powers that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Right. And so, like, I feel like what this should be is the seatbelt, like, jamming someone back into the seat as they take a bite, which causes them to choke.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Or the car doing something physical that, instead of it just being like, oh, you took a bite of a sandwich in me, how dare you?
Which, again, disrespect. She doesn't want anyone eating in her. Christine treats her car like you do.
I used to. I don't anymore.
Yeah. Well, she treats herself, I should say.
You were eating an ice cream cone, and I had the car for less than 3 months. I still defend myself.
Was it an ice cream? I thought it was a milkshake.
No, you were eating an ice cream cone, and I said, can we just wait until we're done our ice cream? And you were like, no, let's go. And I was like, you're not eating that in my car. I just got it. And you got very upset with me. I stand behind this. It wasn't like I think you're a sloppy boy. Ice cream cones can break and drip in weird ways. I stand behind this.
Yeah.
You can eat in my car all you want now.
Christine's got her rules. She will not be disrespected.
Exactly.
By any means necessary.
I did not come all this way and drive all these miles to have some
teeny bopper
in me.
Get fucking burger grease all over my leather seats.
Exactly.
Who would play her?
Moments after fondling each other in the front seat.
My boyfriend.
Yeah.
Inside me.
Exactly.
How dare you?
Yes. Exactly. I feel like it's like sort of an Ursula energy. So like anybody you would want to play Ursula would be this. So like what's I want to say Titus, but is that
Titus
the
Burgess?
actor's name or the
Yeah, he plays
character's name?
is himself.
Yeah. Okay. I could see him doing like a sassy Christine
I mean,
character.
if we're doing gay Christine, then yes, 100%
Yeah.
he's the energy I want. But I was thinking about like someone like Cold and like a Kate Blanchett.
Great pull there for sure.
Or you know what?
I feel like
Katie Seagal.
I feel like I want to.
Let her do Smart House again.
Yeah, Katie Seagal could definitely pull this off.
She did in Smart House.
Acidic edge to her. Yeah, you're right. I was also thinking like I don't want it to be Meryl Streep, but I want the character to be a lot like the Devil Wears Prada character.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Except without the warm center that we eventually find very, very, very deep below the ice.
Very briefly, and deeply. Yes.
Yeah, I like someone sort of aloofly mean is I guess what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I would watch any of the versions of this movie, although again, I don't know that she needs to talk.
I truly do not want Christine to talk, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to see these versions.
Right, because if she does talk, you're basically just doing Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey. But in a modern car, she would talk to you. You know?
Yeah. She would be. Maybe that's what they're gonna do with Megan next.
It would make sense. It would make sense.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, Christine, a movie in the Megan universe. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it would make as much sense as the movie Megan does, which is very little, but I liked it. I liked the movie, to be clear, but it would be the more logical way, because you just wouldn't have a movie now where like a 18-year-old or 17-year-old kid in high school is
buying like a 90s Dodge Neon.
Right. It wouldn't be cool. And if it was, yeah, exactly. That was exactly right. Yeah. And it was like, it would have to be a 70s car, which is like quite old. And then they'd have to be very technically skilled, which I feel like is fewer and fewer people today. Not that it was every person back then either, but
yeah, I think it makes sense.
The idea of it being like a 90s Neon or Toyota Tercel is just really tickling.
A Honda Civic.
Yeah. Just like the lamest, boxiest, shittiest 90s.
Or you know what? It could be a Ford Contour. I feel like our car was not a Contour that was the least killer car.
Yeah. I really want it to be the 88 Toyota Tercel that our grandmother drove forever. That was like triangles and right angles.
Is that the one she took cross country?
Yeah. And then she sold it to my friend Jeff growing up.
Oh, I forgot about that. I assume crank windows.
Crank windows. It only had one passenger mirror. Like there wasn't a mirror on the passenger side. It was
like for the flip down, you mean,
side.
or?
No, the outside mirrors, there was only one on the driver's side. And it wasn't like it broke off and no one fixed it. It was like by default only had one backup mirror.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. But just like that car that was just like what a kid's drawing of a car looks like, where it's like
a box.
All right, well, it's like
a box with a snout and wheels.
Yeah. It's a right triangle for the front, and then a square, and then a less angular right triangle for the back, and then we put wheels on it.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Titus Burgess voicing a Toyota Tercel.
You will respect me.
Just like slap someone with
eating burgers in this vehicle.
It like the seatbelt unclips so fast it like hits you in the face with the buckle.
Yes.
Like, excuse me, exactly did I not say no food?
Oh, I just figured it out. The choking thing, the seat should just wham all the way into the back seat. That would make you choke.
Back,
if you took a bite of a sandwich and it just fell back into the back seat while you had taken a bite, it would lodge in your throat.
Yeah. I mean, new cars can't do that because it's
My car has the old school. You pull it.
You have a lever?
Back. Yeah.
I don't. It's because I only make that reference in my head because some YouTuber I like did a video of, like making fun of survival hacks from a weirder YouTube channel, and one of them was like, if someone's in your back seat, slam your seat back into them, and he was like, okay, and then he showed his car doing the very slow like.
Was that Eddie Burback? That feels like an Eddie Burback joke.
No, it was Danny Gonzalez who was in the Rainforest Cafe video.
Got it. So Christine is getting younger as Arnie is fixing her, which we see the odometer being like a little bit lower. And this doesn't really pay off at all.
No.
Like, later we see Christine's odometer hit 0, and I was like, well, what am
I thought
supposed to be
so.
getting from this?
When it hits 0 later, I was like, is that supposed to be like? Was that more impactful in '83 or whatever when things weren't digital? Like, did it mean she had been going so far that she started over? Was that what that was supposed to mean?
No, because she's going backward through the whole movie. Like every time we see the odometer, it's
Oh, is
lower
it?
than
I did
last
not
time.
catch that.
Yeah. Because when they buy it, he says it says 93,000 miles, Arnie. It's probably 193,000 miles. Like this car's a junk, you know. And then it's like 88 here, and then it's I forget the rest of the numbers in betwixt, but it's always going down.
I didn't catch that. Arnie also starts dressing progressively more like a cool 50s teen.
Yes.
Like what a concerned parent thinks a cool teen dresses like.
Yeah, exactly. And no one comments on this at all. Like,
No.
Like, at one point, Dennis is like, "Where are your glasses?" And he's like, "I don't need them anymore." And it's like, okay,
how?
Can you talk about the leather jacket and the fact that you have a pack of cigarettes rolled up in your sleeve. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, like this red leather jacket that you stole from fucking James Dean. Like, what happened here?
Yeah. Who are you?
Because in Prom Night 2, they comment on it, right? They're like, you're dressing weird.
Right. Like, where did you get those clothes? What are you doing?
What are these saddle shoes?
Yeah. So we cut to the football game, and it's very clear that either whomever wrote this or John Carpenter do not know anything about football.
Well, first,
the things.
Dennis goes to, after he learns about Christine's deaths, he goes to visit Christine and like tries to break it, like pull her open.
That's right.
And he hits the door to try and unlock it because people always try that. And because I wrote down a lot of her needle drops because I like them.
Yes.
And the radio turns on. It says, "Keep on knocking, but you can't come in." It's a song. It's not a voice doesn't speak it. It's a song. It says,
yeah.
"Keep on knocking, but you can't come in." And so he runs away.
Yeah. I will say the songs that they pick, that the fact they're all like classic rock and roll songs like that, and that the car is communicating in like very blunt ways, I like a lot. Every time that Carpenter does that, it works for me.
It's smart.
They use this needle drop a couple times for the same exact purpose, and then they use some love songs for when Arnie's in there. It all works really well, I think.
Yeah, there's "You're Mine Now" or "You're All Mine" when when Lee is alone in the car and she like
Yep.
God she like
Yes.
God chokes.
All the lights come on in the car, and it also looks like when someone
Don't say
dies
all the
in
lights
movie
come
and
on in
they
the
go
car
into,
because that's very different. There is a spotlight under both.
Yes.
It's not all the lights turn to bright. There is an extra light.
What I was building to in the sentence was, and somehow it looks like when someone dies in a movie and they go into the light.
Or the briefcase from Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, yeah, it's brighter than that for sure.
Apparently, they for the shots outside where Christine was like chasing people, they put airplane headlights in her. Like those models had airplane
no wonder
headlights.
It's so bright. Yeah,
Which
that's
again
crazy.
just makes me think of Futurama when the headlights are so bright they like burn through things.
Yes, yeah. It does seem like if you look directly into this, you would go blind.
Oh yeah. Also, it's a daytime football game. Weird.
Well, that's not that unusual for high schools. Our high school played at night, but that was not necessarily the norm.
Okay, I just assumed that a Friday night game.
It is in places where football is big, but what's the name of that Catholic high school in our area?
It was Shanahan?
Yeah, they didn't have lights, so when you played Shanahan, you played Saturday afternoon.
Oh. But they could, so they didn't just come to play you guys there?
They would, when they played away games, they would play on Friday nights, but when they had home games, it was Saturday afternoons.
Okay.
So it's not that unusual. And I remember we didn't play a lot of, I think our coaches were like, this is way cooler for the kids in the school if we're playing Friday nights. So we tended to play Friday night games, but I think there were some other schools in the broader area that either didn't have lights or didn't have good enough lights to have, safe football at night. Because it's a lot of electricity to run those. I mean, it's sneaky how difficult it is and expensive it is.
Yeah, I don't remember going to any day games for you.
I only ever played one day game in 2 years.
Okay.
So the JV games were daytime, but the varsity games were at night.
Okay.
Except for the one, which we all hated because it was like the wrong.
What time did you have to be up for those? Like 10?
I honestly don't remember because it was just the one time, but I do remember like having a practice on Friday and us all being like, oh, we have an extra practice this week. Like, this sucks.
This is supposed to be the thing.
It really sucks. Yeah. And we didn't do like a full practice. It was like, a half practice, but still, it's just like, ugh, like, what are we doing here? So anyway, we're at the football game. There's like a play, and then they go back to the huddle and they call a play, and Dennis, who is on this football team, has to like ask the quarterback what he wants him to do. And I'm like, okay, no, like he
just told you,
and the play has instructions. And then the quarterback says, hey, Dennis, hang out in the flat, which means like the area directly to the left or right of the quarterback,
like immediately there.
Yeah. Well, not like 2 feet away, but like between the quarterback and the sideline is the flat, because it's flat.
Gotcha. Like, on the plane. Got it.
Yeah, like on the plane, like hang out in the flat. So it's like, oh, okay, he's gonna like kind of wait, maybe catch a pass,
toss it to the side.
But then he starts running down the sideline. I'm like, okay, this is not hanging out in the flat, but okay, what are we doing? And then he sees Arnie get out of Christine with Lee, and then just start fully making out. By the way, they park like 16 inches from the end of the field. It just seems
it's a parking
like
spot,
all of
though.
These cars. I know, but it just seems like this is poorly set up. Like some kid's gonna like not be looking and run through it into a vehicle.
Probably. You need a fence there.
So he like is so distracted by this that he barely turns around to catch the pass. He gets his legs cut out from under him. He takes a really nasty spill. And we learn when he wakes up in the hospital that he was a centimeter away from being paralyzed from the waist down.
Jesus.
Oof.
So his football career is over. But then, when Arnie goes to visit him in the hospital, he's dressed normal again. Did you notice that?
Yes, he is.
I was like, what are we doing?
I did. And it felt like, and again, the movie doesn't do a great job of this, but in hindsight, it feels like the movie was trying to show that like Arnie's not fully there. Because the next time he comes in the hospital, Arnie is fully gone.
Yeah.
This is like,
but I just feel
like two entities battling for control of Arnie.
The way to do it is to like piece by piece, little by little, rather than like this scene he's dressed like a greaser, this scene he's not. Like you need to be like he doesn't wear his glasses or he's wearing his hair differently, and then you add on the glasses, then all of a sudden he's wearing white t-shirts or like build to it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then Arnie and him talk, and then he was like, "How did you fix up Christine so fast?" And Arnie's like, "Well, I'm good." But it's not because he doesn't know Christine fixed herself yet. So she could have done that before, I guess.
Right.
And as he leaves, he goes, part of being a parent is trying to kill your kids. And that's the end of the scene. And I was like, not going to elaborate on that at all.
Right. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Hey, excuse me. Hey, can you elaborate?
I have
what the
several
fuck are you
questions.
talking about?
Because even in context of the movie, I don't get that.
No, it makes absolutely no sense. Well, I could see why Arnie feels that way because his parents are.
Well, his parents are awful, but they're not trying to kill him.
Super makes sense. No. So we're at the drive-in, beautiful looking drive-in. Love this car at a drive-in. Looks great.
Yeah, for sure. This drive-in has the
that's right.
The corded speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had to use, I bought it looks like a spy, like a 90s spy communicator. Little radio.
Okay. You didn't take the orange radio?
What orange radio? Oh,
the orange radio.
No, I don't think I have that.
Oh, really? I would have. I feel like you should have that.
I should have that. I don't think I have.
Our grandparents had this. I'm sure it was a Tropicana giveaway.
It was
some other Florida's Best or whatever. I don't remember which company it was, but it's a radio that looks like an orange. It's actually really great. It's delightful.
Mm-hmm. And the antenna is a straw just sticking out of the orange.
Yes. I remember the ad campaign, but not which company it was for. But it was like literally they stuck a straw in the orange, and then it was like, "This is how fresh our juice is."
I'm pretty sure it's Tropicana, but
which is all bullshit, by the way. Orange juice production is truly horrifying.
It is. It's maraschino cherries. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But. Yeah.
So we're at the drive-in. Sorry for distracting. You had a little radio.
I had, because they everything on their website's like, do not use your car for this.
Yeah.
Absolutely do not use your car for this. Because
the second time I went to the drive-in, I did use my car and I needed to get a jump before I could leave.
That's exactly why.
Yeah.
But so it was daytime when we got there. Well, not quite. It was like still
Twilight.
So I had my car butt facing the screen, so we sat in the trunk and like ate our food and stuff. Sure. And then we turned the car around when it started to get cold, like dark and cold. So, but we had to use this little this tiny, it's still in my car. And if I ever need an emergency radio or we go to the drive-in, it's there. It's this tiny little,
that's
tiny little
nice
guy.
To have for that. Yeah. So Lee and Arnie have a big fight about Christine. They get out of the car and she tells him how much she hates the car and she
doesn't want to bone in the car.
Right. They're making out, getting handsy. And she's like, not right now. And she's like, I don't want to have sex with you in this car. I can't do it.
Does Christine turn a song on? Or because they keep cutting from his hand on her boob to the radio?
She doesn't, but it does feel like it's about to.
Okay.
I suppose. Sorry.
That's the other hilarious thing. So I watched this on archive.org, that free library website we've talked about before.
Oh, yeah.
It's not called, I Googled, Christine 1983, because there's apparently some other movie called Christine that's unrelated from 5 years ago.
Oh, interesting.
And so,
it's about that newscaster who killed herself.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, archive, great. And I clicked it, and it just says 1983 in parentheses, and I was like, huh? But then the source file says Christine in it, so I was like, this seems correct.
That's really funny. This movie was on Hulu at the time that we were going to do it the first time, and then it just expired this month, and I was like, God damn it, I didn't watch it. And then it turned out I owned it, and I had forgotten.
There's only one review or comment or whatever they call it, but it says, I feel so bad for Christine. He couldn't live without his master, so he died. And I was like, Christine. It's a she.
Maybe Arnie couldn't live without his master.
No, I felt so bad for Christine.
Oh.
Yeah, I felt so bad for Christine. He couldn't live without his master, so he died.
I was interpreting it as I felt so bad for Christine. Arnie couldn't live without her, so he died.
No, it was one sentence. I mean, it could have been, but it was one sentence.
Now, Arnie, now Christine is alone.
But yeah, I was like, it's Christine. It's she. Explicitly throughout the whole movie, it's a she.
Yeah.
But so
she starts choking.
Well, she makes one of the windshield wipers stop working, so Arnie has to get out of the car.
That's right.
So
yeah. It's very, very good, car as a character, human person.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then he gets out of the car, and all of a sudden it's angel light, and she's choking on her burger. And I was like, okay. And it's not like they cut to outside the car and no one can see it. Inside, they cut to outside the car in the rain, and it's it looks like she's being fucking raptured.
Yes, it really does. And she's choking and trying to Arnie can't get in the car. Christine locks him out. She finally gets the door unlocked, and the guy in the car next door pulls her out and very clearly starts giving her the Heimlich. And Arnie's like, get your damn hands off her, Biff. And I'm like, no, you fool.
Calm down, Danny Zuko.
But he does give her the Heimlich, and we don't get the classic movie thing of the food going flying to camera like they usually do. They just
or at all it doesn't even pop out. Yeah. It's just sort of well, that's right. Heimlich worked, I guess.
Yeah, it was as if she got it popped out of her throat and was like, oh good, I can finish chewing on this. Nom, 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 nom. But the guy who gives her the Heimlich then turns it into a pretty sensual behind hug. It was a very odd.
I did not get sensual from that, but I can relook.
It was just a little warmer than I thought it would be. It wasn't immediately oh my God, are you okay? It was an embrace from behind. I just feel the embrace from behind is only people in only romantic connection. Yeah. You don't give a friend or a relative a from behind hug.
I might give a friend, some friends.
This is not a friendly from behind hug, I should say.
Okay.
You could certainly do it, but this is not the kind of hug you'd give a friend, I don't think.
But he's like, what are you doing? Get off of her. And I was like, what do you think?
What do you think is happening right now? Do you think this man is just wantonly committing sexual assault? What's happening?
So he drives her home, and she's basically I don't think this is going to work. I can't deal with the car. She's mad at him. And he grabs her face and he's like, I think you're just sexually frustrated. And I was like, what the hell? Where did this come from?
Who are you? Why are you like this?
New achievement unlocked. Misogynist jerk.
Yeah. So they never show how Arnie gets from the garage, which is a drivable distance from his house home, because he has to store.
Oh yeah, how does he get home or to the
They never
garage?
explain this. Right. It's like, is he walking like 3 miles to and from this garage to get to this car?
He must be. Wait, he gets in the car and it won't start, and he has to like rub her and be like, I still love you, baby.
Come on, baby. Yeah.
And then when it turns on, the radio is singing a song that says I love you, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is probably the most fun kinetic energy scene of the movie. The bullies all break into this garage and just destroy this car, which has to be one of the top 5 most fun things they ever got to film.
Oh, 100%. That's got to be great.
Smashing the windows.
It's like this in that Zombieland scene.
Yeah.
In the general store.
Right. But they're just like smashing her all to pieces. Do we see the guy poop on the dash? Was I taking
We
a
don't.
note?
We see him slice up the seat, and then Christine turns on knock, 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 but you can't come in. I'm like, he's already in.
Yeah. Too late. He's in the car.
Yeah, like it should have been like a song with like stop in it.
Well, I thought that this was going to be when Christine started fighting back. Like, I thought the door was going to slam on him.
I was like, girl, if you can fight back, why aren't you? With your weird nebulous car powers.
Right. Like, you could, like, for one, there's a guy standing on the hood. You could have easily had her do, like, a flip, like, bucking Bronco launch this guy.
Oh, yeah. Like, right into the wall behind him.
Yeah. And then this other guy's, like, half in, half out. Like, you could have had the door cut him in half.
Mm-hmm. I wanted more of that kind of stuff.
Or this would be a great opportunity for, like, the seatbelt as, like, a snake, like, wrapping around his neck.
Yeah. Grab him.
None of that happens, but it should have.
Doors opening, knocking people over, like.
Yep, that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because like, so if you kind of have to like run down the hill with this one. Like, Christine realizes that she's being smashed up, and that Arnie will get mad at Lee and then push her away and bond with her more.
Yes.
But she didn't know the bullies were coming anyways. So once they started, just kill him. Come on.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, this scene
Christine,
would be just as
baby. Come on.
Show us something. This would have been just as crazy if instead of them, because the scene right after this is Arnie and Lee come to see the car, and instead of it being, oh, there's the car all smashed to bits, there's 4 dead bodies around your car.
And the car is perfect.
Yeah.
Because I forgot she didn't fix herself until later. I forgot that they see the fucked up car. But yeah, that would have been so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Of all that. And then you can show us
now.
You can show us her fixing herself, because those shots are amazing and wonderful.
That's
It's going to look terrible in CGI if they ever make this movie, but you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 100% it's going to look awful. Did you look up how they did it? Was it like inflatable stuff?
I think it was they like built a car chassis with some kind of plastic that looks like metal, but like is like
that makes sense.
crushable. And then they reversed it. They like
makes sense.
Hydraulic sucked it in to crush it and like bend it, and then reversed it.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Because all the other shots are very obvious reversals. I just was curious if you had looked it up.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted her to kill. I was like, come on, like you're.
It's more interesting because the ways that she ends up killing the people are not that interesting. She just runs them over.
No, yeah, and also like, how did that chubby bully get killed? It was a slow squish. You got slow squished. Yes. Come on, my dude.
Yeah, I mean, he is backed up against a brick wall, and this is a very powerful vehicle, so I could.
But it's slowly
it cuts him in half,
scooching in. Like you couldn't jump onto the hood and. Come on.
That's
like
he should. Yeah, you're right. He should have got on the hood.
You don't have to like do what I used to do and like Spider-Man up the wall, but like you could hop onto the hood. Come on.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah, he doesn't have the upper body strength.
Yeah. So yeah, they Arnie and Lee show up, and he is beside himself, and she's clearly upset for him. Like, who did this?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Do you know what happened? Yeah.
And he like snaps at her because he's broken. And
he's doing the thing where like the car is in tatters and he's like very methodically putting the rubber gasket back around the window frame.
Yes.
As if it would be useful
he's
in any way.
The Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah. Oh man, that's fucking dark.
Oh, come on.
You're going to get a text from mom. You're getting a text from Mom, just so you know. It's going to be very upset.
Look, she knows I have a reverence for that whole...
You're not wrong. It's funny.
Yeah. It pains me forever that I will never see the pink suit because it cannot come out in public view until after I'm dead. I would love to see that suit.
Anyway, they're talking about like applying to the same colleges, by the way, as they walk up to...
She's not into that conversation.
No, she's like, let's go back to the part where we make out and grope each other.
She's like, I'm starting to pull away from this relationship, buddy.
Yeah. So his car's all smashed. We cut to him at home, and he's just like screaming.
Well, his parents...
The way he's acting...
His parents are like, we're sorry about that happened. And he's like, it's your fault. You may
buy a new car.
You may put it there. And then they're like, we want to help you buy a new car. We feel so bad. And he's like, that's what everybody wants, to get rid of Christine. And I was like,
yeah,
it's just it's a 20-year-old car. Like,
right.
What?
Right. And it's like, you see a little bit of the argument of like, I worked really hard to do this. I did this all on my own. And now everybody's like, well, it's trash now. And it's like, well, I did a lot of fucking work to get here. But in a few moments, we learn that the car can fix itself. And so all that goes out the window as any logical connection.
Uh-huh. But he chokes his dad in the foyer, the lobby, whatever we're going to call it.
He chokes his dad in the foyer and calls him a motherfucker, which is accurate.
Oh. But yeah, like they say we want to help you buy a new car, and he's like, fuck you both, and runs away. And his dad's like, he's like, you get back in there and apologize. This is ridiculous. And then he chokes him.
Yeah. The way he's behaving right now would be the reason the parents act like they do in the first part of the movie.
Yes. But he's full on like, hey, I'm Danny Zuko. Hey, I'm going to hit the hay, Pops, or hit the sack or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Huh? He like winks at him almost on the way out. So he's back in the garage, and he hears Christine fix a part of the engine. He doesn't see it, and he realizes instantly that like something supernatural is happening here. And so he gets this like sexual glint in his eye, and he's like, okay.
I do kind of love like the build up to it because
this is probably the best scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, there's a couple. But he, like the framing of the shot and the cinematography and everything, he like walks.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, cinematography.
Okay. I just wanted to stop the tweets.
It's something that we kind of say, and then I heard it on Bob's Burgers, and I was like, oh, so I'm not the only one to make that joke.
Yeah.
It's like a very low camera shot with the headlights, and so he's in full silhouette walking away from the car, and he turns, and then he's sort of like, it looks like he's kind of like floating in an abyss because the warehouse is so dark.
Right.
And the camera like slowly pushes in, and you're right, he's kind of a little sexual.
Yeah, it's like a sexual hunger that we see in Arnie right here.
And he goes, okay, show me. And then this like all these magic shots, and it's so cool.
Yeah. I wouldn't want them to do this because it's great in the movie, but there's a version of this where you put like Careless Whisper under this next part as he watches this happen.
Or some kind of something. Yeah. Or you know what?
It's awesome. It's probably the best effects shot in the movie, I would say, at least.
It would have been interesting for something like Unchained, like something in the vein of Unchained Melodies.
Sure.
That's like it's not sexy, but it's like a soft romantic song.
Yeah.
Because there's just something. Yeah. Like she fixes the radio first and then turns that on to be like, watch what I can do.
Right. Yeah, and like you can't do it for safety reasons with the special effects shots, obviously, but like it also would be cool if he like had his hand on the car while this was happening.
Yeah. I wonder, maybe you could do that. I don't know. Probably not, but
well, you wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think you could. I don't think it would be safe to do the like sucking in part with someone close by, just in case like anything went wrong.
Yeah,
and then you just show it in reverse. So, but so now Christine's on the hunt.
But also, like,
first we go after.
I've always been curious. How is he going to explain this overnight fix? Like,
he just kind of tries to hand wave it away because he does get specifically asked about this a couple of times. Like the detective, who we'll meet in a minute, and we'll save.
We'll get there.
Is like, weren't there holes punched in the body? And he's like, oh yeah, you can see the part where it's not blended. The paint doesn't match. And he's like, I can't. I'm looking at it. I don't see what you're talking about.
I think that is a moment that in a remake with some CGI could be interesting. That like the camera could be like over Arnie's shoulder talking to the detective, and as he's like, oh no, there's definitely still some mistakes, the camera could like pull down and watch Christine like make them.
Oh yeah,
to
genius.
Be like,
love that.
Oh, look at this, and or like whatever, like on the other side of the car, like that kind of stuff. I think could be interesting.
Absolutely, I love that idea. To be clear, the CGI version of this movie is going to be dreadful.
Yes,
that shot you're talking about sounds great. Although you could probably blend that with a real practical effect.
Oh, for sure. They won't because they won't. No. They don't do that. But you know.
Yeah. So first we get the heaviest set of the bullies, and he gets like chased down in the street.
To the Matilda song.
Yes, to the Matilda song. Not Send Me On My Way, the other one.
Yeah. It's like her dancing song. The pancake song.
Like, oh my way.
I mean, that's like, kind of appropriate needle droppy.
Yeah, it would be very funny.
He's like, you ain't mad, are you?
Yeah, I didn't mean it. I
didn't mean to poop on your dashboard.
It was just I had to poop. So it ends up that he's like in a loading dock, I guess, but the loading dock is so narrow that Christine can't fit, which makes me wonder how
what loading truck is this?
Yeah, like the back cab of a truck. But the shot of Christine being like, well, fuck it, I'll fit in there anyway, and just like scrunching into this space so that she can cut this guy in half is bonkers.
It's really good. That's another sequence that I always remember. Like it's just a really good chase sequence.
Yes, it is. There's a couple of those in this last part of the movie.
It's got kind of the energy of not quite a Final Girl circuit, but like one of those kind of feelings. Even though you know he's gonna die, like you know that he's not making it out of this, but like
yes, yeah, it's like I got no way out. I'm done.
Dynamic and really interesting.
So we cut to the hospital, and Arnie does the absolute worst beer pour I've ever seen in my entire life. It's just 1 inch of beer liquid and the entire cup of foam in this beer stein that he's brought with him.
You pour against the glass, right? Like you tilt and do the glass, right?
You tilt and pour. Yeah. So that there's some foam, but not. This is just a good. Like it would be several minutes before you could drink.
I can't drink this.
And Arnie starts like crushing the rest of the beer straight out of the can
and giving crazy eyes.
Yeah. And Dennis is very concerned for his friend. This is like, honestly, this part where Arnie's been more taken over reminds me a lot of a vampire movie.
Okay. I can see that.
It's definitely the sort of like, I've not fully turned, but I'm basically turned sort of vibes, like from a Lost Boys or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like if I don't kill before the next full moon or whatever, I won't turn, but I'm dabbling.
Yeah. I'm going to turn. I'm going to do the killing. And we cut to school where we get our favorite
drunk angel,
the one and only Harry Dean Stanton,
who I texted Trip about this the Oscars night. But when Sarah Polley won for Best Writer, they were like, Sarah Polley is, her first nomination. Her screen debut was in the Disney classic One Magic Christmas, and I was like, we're calling it a what now?
Yeah, Molly fucking Monahan won an Oscar.
Molly fucking Monahan. She biked her way to an Oscar.
Now she has an Oscar. But this is like, I think this is maybe the best scene in the movie in terms of Keith Gordon like acting. Like Harry Dean Stanton, as much as you make fun of him a little bit, is a great actor.
Yeah,
very talented. A heavyweight, a guy who can hold his weight against anybody. And Keith Gordon holds his weight here. They have like a great back and forth. And this whole sequence here is great.
I think I just didn't like that Arnie was coming in so hot. Like,
yes.
Like, you're clearly being questioned for a murder, my dude. Like,
right.
Let's scale it back a bit.
He's too smart to play this
broadly
antagonistically for no reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because he's like, where'd you get the paint? And he's like, I don't think they make this shade of red anymore. Where'd you manage to find it? And he's like, I bought it at this auto parts store out there. And he's like, oh, do you have the receipt? And he's like, tossed it away. And it's just like,
he's playing it like Tom Cruise, and he does not need to be playing it like Tom Cruise.
Right. But it's like Tom Cruise as an asshole character is like, you're going to draw more heat on yourself, man. You're trying to avoid heat. So they go, he's looking at the car, and he's also wearing the bodywork.
A buttoned leather vest. And I was just like, what are we wearing?
It's very odd looking. It is very odd looking. So they Harry Dean Stanton goes away, but is very clearly still very suspicious of this whole situation.
Because he says, I talked to your girlfriend, and she said your car was totaled, and he keeps trying to play it off like, no, it was just a little messed up, like...
It was way worse. It looked way worse than it was.
Because no one saw it, so technically it's his word against hers.
Right.
Like, I'm surprised he wasn't like, what do women know about cars, right? Am I right, man?
Yeah, that is exactly the energy of this scene for sure. So we go to the bullies and they're buying some booze. And I don't know if you noticed this with the co-bully, the one who's in the shotgun seat. He doesn't get much to do in the whole movie, but he's actually is the actor from Ghostbusters who Bill Murray is like testing and electrocuting.
Oh, I thought he was Shelley from the one Friday the 13th.
I assume, oh yeah. He does have similar hair.
The like
Shelley.
prankster guy.
Yeah, Shelley looks a little bit more like the first bully who gets killed, I think.
Yeah, I think facially, Shelley has a similar face to this bully, but yeah.
Yeah. So we've got the 40-year-old bully and the guy from Ghostbusters.
If John Travolta.
Yeah, the 40-year-old bully, John Travolta. And they're getting chased down from behind Christine.
Jim Borbolto.
Yeah, I'm going to remember that.
Jim Borbolta.
They're Christine like chases them down. They come to a big stop. Then they throw it in reverse and are like, trying to back
into her, and she's matching their speed. So
they end up driving to this gas station where a third member of the bully party lives, who is
the tall, skinny one.
The 13th, Ted from Friday the 13th Part 2.
Yes, there we go.
Not Ted Gagan, who we interviewed, but the Ted in the film. They get out of.
Is he
car.
Ted or is he the other one? Is he?
No, he's Ted. I looked it up.
Because I thought he looked more like he was more Crispin Glover than he was Ted.
No, you're thinking of Friday the 13th Part 4. I'm talking about Friday the 13th Part 2.
Right.
There is a Ted in 2 and a Ted in 4.
You got to not do that, y'all.
So this is tall redhead Ted from Friday the 13th Part 2 working at the gas station as a mechanic of some sort. Christine, the bullies get out of their car. Christine T-bones it. It looks really delightful. Two cars actually smashed into each other on a camera. Imagine that.
I know. It's so good.
And then she backs up and the cars are kind of stuck together. So it's like it holds for a little bit. They get pulled apart. Then she rams back into it, hits it into the gas station, into the guy, the
one bully. The Shelley bully
blows up and kills the bully, bully who was Ted from Friday the 13th as well.
So here's the thing. Here was crazy. So I haven't seen it in a minute. Obviously, I know all the bullies have to die because it's Stephen King.
Yeah.
Yeah. It drives into the Shelley bully into the gas thing. We get a nice dummy. The Ted bully is
like a wall of gas cans that they smash into, basically.
I think, yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
And then Ted bully is like backing away, and there's a car that's lifted, and he's backing up into it. And I was like, oh, he's gonna get crushed by a car. That's what this is gonna be.
It felt very much to me like we had to cut this to not get the X rating kind of situation.
Yeah, it could be, but
or maybe it was an R to PG-13 thing. I don't know what this movie's rated.
Probably R. It's a lot of violence.
I would guess, but yeah.
Because I was like, he's definitely getting squished, but he doesn't. The whole place explodes and it's beautiful. And then a flaming driving Christine comes out.
Truly unbelievably cool.
I wish more movies had flaming driving cars.
Yeah.
They don't drive, they just flame.
Cool.
I want them to drive too.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing that somebody proposes in a meeting and everyone around the table is like, can we do that? That's amazing.
Cars can do that? Some stuntman was like, I can't throw myself down some stairs, so yes, we can do this.
Yeah, I'll just wear 2 fire suits. It's fine. I'll drive a car on fire. Don't worry about it.
I wonder if it would be like one of those situations where they have it, although it wasn't in this movie because it was not, hadn't have anything connected to it. I was like, you could theoretically do one of those things where it's like the actual car is in the back and then it's like connected.
Yeah.
There's like a fake, it's like just the chassis and wheels that would be flaming, so there'd be no risk of, explosion or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you were doing it now, you'd have some sort of rig where like a vehicle was basically pushing Christine on like a,
or pulling
10 feet in front of it or pulling it. Yeah. I don't know how they did it then because if they went and manually colored the wire out, that would probably be the most logical one.
Yeah, I don't know.
My guess is that they just set the car on fire and somebody drove it.
Probably. So Jim Borbolta is running down a road. He's running straight because people are dumb in this universe.
Yeah. Or at least just don't run on the road.
Yeah. Like, find a concrete structure and go up.
Yeah, but even if there's no concrete structure, the car is much slower bouncing along a field, you know?
Yeah.
You got some advantage.
I have to say, anticlimactic death, great dead body.
Yeah. Same. But also, as we see Christine here, she kind of looks like when Jaws pops out of the water after you blow it up in the Universal Jaws ride.
See, I think that's more when she gets to the.
That's true. Yeah, she just more like it there. But yeah, she's like running and running and running, and then we cut to a shot of her from behind, and we just see like a kunk, and we see the dead body in the road.
It's a flaming dead body. It looks great, but the death is kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah. So I think you talked about Prosky's character who owns the garage being a smuggler, and I think we get a little bit of allusion to that here because Christine goes rolling in. And he sees it, and then he's
like we said, it looks like Jaws at the
charred
end.
Corpse, yeah. And he picks up the phone and calls somebody, and you hear him be like, "Oh, is Arnie there? Was he driving my caddy? And he's still there? Okay." And so he's like, "Oh, something's up here." But like, why is Arnie driving his car? It doesn't really make any sense.
I mean, I guess
maybe that was like a dropped part of the smuggler thing.
Yeah, I think it was. I was just assumed to be like, "Hey, it's you're doing errands for me. Just take my car."
Right. So he grabs his gun and he goes and sort of like investigates what's going on. He looks inside Christine. He doesn't see anybody.
Well, he says like, "Get out of there, punk." Which is, it's nice that he's like very clearly very protective of Arnie's car because it's been destroyed, and he's like, "I'll doing something." And then I don't know what it is. Like, I want more something. Like, give me like a chime or like a mystical sound or something.
The only thing I can think here is like, so he tries to open the door. It's very hot. Obviously, it was just on fire. So he grabs a rag and he opens it. He's got the gun. Nobody's there. And at this point, Christine's like, "Oh, okay." He's like protecting me. He's fine. Mm-hmm. And then he gets in the car and he sort of has this like look of ecstasy as he's like pretending to drive it, which I don't really like. It doesn't make any sense to me because if we had a scene earlier in the movie where he was like, "You did a great job with the car, kid. Let me take her for a spin." And Arnie was like, "Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take you for your ride, but you're not driving my car." And so him being like, "Oh, I get to be in the driver's seat," like it
just seems so weird that like a man this old who owns a garage is like, this charred, blackened, smoking, like currently hot car. I'm going to get inside of it. Like, give me a magical chime or a something that says like she's pulling him in. Yes.
Because it doesn't seem like she is. It seems like he gets in and then she's like, "Oh, how dare you? I'm a one-woman man. Woman.
I did not consent to this. Get ready to die."
Yeah. And so she uses the seat to go forward and squishes him against the steering wheel.
And the song is called Boney Maroney, about a girl being too skinny.
Yeah. So we cut to Harry Dean Stanton investigating the situation.
Christine is now perfect again.
Yes, yeah, gleaming and as beautiful as always.
But he's still dead. He was like, "Oh, he was dead in your front seat with a shotgun next to him." I was like, "You couldn't pop him out the side." Christine couldn't be like,
"Yeah." Well, how would she push him out?
I don't know, seatbelt.
Hands. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I also think there's like a real like. I think the book might be a little more obvious about this because I mentioned that like Arnie has like sort of a vampire thing happening. And I do think there's supposed to be a connection between the car sort of absorbing people's energy.
I mean, that would make sense why Arnie's going back to the 50s.
Right. And so Arnie's going back to the 50s and then Christine kills Robert Prosky right after she kills this other guy. And then she can put herself back together. It's like she sucks up their life force to use to fix herself. But the movie doesn't put enough of an emphasis on that, so it doesn't.
No, because she fixed herself without having killed anyone.
Right.
The first time, yeah.
But you could argue that she was taking that energy from Arnie.
Yes.
It was like a Renfield, basically.
Yeah, and like again, like Hello Mary Lou. Let's see more sunken eyes and
right. Yeah, I 100%. I'm not. This is very much a situation of like, well, the movie doesn't tell us this, but
because this is where Arnie's like, "I have no idea what's going on," and I'm like, "But earlier when you were talking to Dennis in the hospital, it seemed like you definitely knew Christine murdered a boy, but now you're like,
You were gleefully talking about how this fat asshole got squished, and then Harry Dean Stanton's like, they had to scoop his bottom half up with a shovel. And you're like, well, don't you do that with shit? Pick it up with a shovel?
I mean, okay, to be fair, mean murder, like threaten bullies. If they die, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So we're getting into the climax here. Arnie picks up Dennis, who's on crutches. He's
also, we skipped Christmas for some reason. We go from Thanksgiving to New Year's.
Yeah. I don't know why. I guess this would be kind of odd to have Christine doing her murders at Christmas time.
Why
but it
not?
does seem weird.
Why not?
It's also weird that this movie is so aggressive. Like, we say all the time, like, oh, this movie needs a clock, and this movie has our calendar, rather, and this movie has one, and I'm always like, I don't get what the point, like, what?
I'm fine. No, but the problem is it doesn't have enough calendar. It gives you 3 dates, and I was like,
yes,
I don't know what we're doing.
What do I take from that? Yeah. But so Arnie's like really spiraling here. He picks up Dennis. They're driving. Arnie's drinking and driving and trying to get Dennis to drink. And he's like chucking the cans out the window and just
Arnie's going like 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And
is like, they try to keep you apart. That's what love does. It drives you crazy. And he's like, who are you talking about? You broke up with Lee. And he's like, I'm talking about Christine, man.
Yeah, well, no, he doesn't say you broke up with Lee. He's like, you feel that way about Lee, huh? And Arnie's like, you idiot. No, it's Christine. Yeah, and Dennis the dumbass is like, let me talk to you. Let me try and, while we're in Christine and we're going 100 miles an hour, let me talk about why you should get rid of Christine. Like,
yeah, really very
read
stupid.
The room.
Yeah.
She can kiss a telephone pole at 100 miles an hour and then fix herself.
Yeah, exactly. She's going to launch you into a telephone pole. So he is like, okay, I got to do something to fix my friend. He kind of meets up with Lee and they form a plan. We see Dennis scratch the name of the garage into Christine's hood to be like, meet us there tonight. Which I wondered, it was like, part of it was like, wait, so Christine can read? You know what I mean? Like,
she can feel, maybe.
Car. Yeah. Well, then she knows letters then, you know what I mean? Like, did somebody teach Christine to read like Helen Keller style, like forming the letters into the seat?
Yeah, I don't know. Do we think she's ghost possessed or demon possessed? If you had to guess.
It doesn't. Yeah, I
don't want the movie to have a firm. Like, I don't want to watch someone die in the car because the remake's gonna be like she gets raped and murdered in the car, and then that's right. And I don't need that.
Right.
But like, do you think it
seems more demonic than ghost to me?
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't seem like a individual person. It seems more like an entity.
I would agree with that.
So anyway, we cut to the garage. Lee and Dennis hotwire a front loader, like a piece
like
of
the slowest, clumsiest vehicle weapon you could have.
But it does have tank treads.
That's true.
It's pretty indestructible.
Very helpful.
Because in another movie, they would have a car and the tires would get blown out and then they wouldn't be able to move.
Mm-hmm. And then they'd have to last minute switch to something with tank treads.
Yeah.
So they're like alone in the dark garage. They're putting their Bobcat or whatever in the middle, and then he's like, "You should go over and hide in the office, and then shut the door when the car comes in." And as she's walking, we find out this like mountain of trash in the background. Christine's been under it the whole time.
Yeah,
it's a great reveal.
Surprise, bitches. Yeah, it's very pro wrestling of like, by God, he was in the front row under a mask.
in like the fucking the hood the Grinch wears into when he walks into Whoville, he just like throws it off.
Yeah. So she gets almost run over, but just like a very athletic jump.
It's a nice little gymnastics jump.
Yeah. And then Christine, sort of misses. She's like trying to come about.
Christine's front end gets all torn up and looks like a mouth. And I like it, specifically for this scene. Like, I don't ever need to see it.
Yep.
I like it for this and this scene only.
It's basically like circling it with a big highlighter and just underlining it in a red pen at the same time. You can do that once. You can't do that 12 times.
And it's not like it's moving or anything or like talking.
Right.
It's just it's torn up and looks like that.
Yeah, it's like it's the end of the movie. She's going to look like a shark. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And then I have to say, they kind of ruined it by putting Arnie behind the wheel.
Yeah.
She doesn't need him.
No. Yeah. And also it makes more sense if Arnie's not behind the wheel and Arnie comes in and she kills Arnie because she's like, you tried to stop me.
Yes.
I think this is a bad choice creatively in the movie.
Does the book do that? Or is he?
It's been too long. That's too specific of a detail. I remember that one line very vividly, and I remember the generalities. But from what I read, it followed the book pretty closely. But yeah, so they go back and forth. They end up playing chicken between the caterpillar and the car.
And Christine bothers to fix herself.
Yes.
They only show that torn up mouth for a little bit, and I was like, come on, why not?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's because later she's doing it as a self-preservation move, and so they have to kind of establish that she'll do it now, but I agree with you. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But this ends up with a game of chicken, and Christine swerves and then ends up crashing in the office where Lee is and launching Arnie out of the windshield. I guess he wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah. And so he flies through and he gets a jump scare on Lee.
Yeah.
And
unlike every character in Scream, he gets a stab wound to the abdomen and dies immediately.
Just boom, dead. He touches the grill of the car, which shouldn't that be 100,000 degrees?
Yeah, but it's a sort of romantic-y thing. Yeah. And then you think they both die and we're catching our breath. Oh, JK.
Yeah, because these dumbasses think she needs a man. She doesn't need a man.
Christine is her own independent woman. Thank you very much. So we get one more from Christine, and then pretty cool move where Dennis jams the scoop of this thing into the back of Christine, and she basically rips herself out of it, and then he runs her over like a
squishes like a tube of toothpaste.
Yeah, and then we smash the back end all up, and we see the odometer hit 0, and then some more of I'm putting myself back together reversals, and eventually she dies. And there's a great cut of they drive the caterpillar over and she gets all smashed, and we cut to Christine having been smooshed into a cube
like the brave little toaster.
Yes. And this is the part of the movie that I find most insane. And we're talking about a movie about a killer car, but it's fine to me that Dennis is oh, the car is the problem. It's fine to me that Lee is the car is the problem because they've both seen it. Harry Dean Stanton is standing with them in the junkyard, and he's like, well, you guys are heroes. You did a good deed. You're going to save a lot of people's lives. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Does Harry Dean Stanton
know that the car is evil?
Because that's a big fucking leap for a police officer.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just meant Arnie is dead. I don't know.
Yeah. But if so, it's this is this guy's best friend and her boyfriend. You're being pretty casual about how cool it is that they killed him.
Yeah.
And he's not drunk, so there's no excuse.
No, he's not. Although, who knows?
Yeah. And we get two gags here that I like. One is we hear a song and everyone is oh, fuck. And then we see a guy walk by with a boombox. That's good. And then at the very, very end, we see Christine move just a
wiggle. Just a little wiggle.
So final thoughts and recommendations?
It's good. I like it. I definitely would recommend it. It's a fun movie. It's long, I will say. It's too long. It's not
top tier Carpenter for me, but it's a pretty. If you took his name off it would be a pretty solid 80s horror movie that's fun. I also think it's borderline okay, kids entry to horror, because there's not really much blood in it, and there's not really any I mean, obviously there's people die, but it's not graphic in any way with the deaths.
Yeah, it's
not a 6-year-old.
No, yeah, it's definitely maybe not my first horror movie, but early in my.
Yeah, I could see it being an earlier part of a little kid who's interested and wants to see a horror movie this is a pretty safe one. It's a little too long. I think you could shave 10 to 15 minutes out of this and lose basically nothing. But solid performances all around. Carpenter doesn't do all the score because there's so many needle drops, but all the Carpenter, synthy goodness of chase sequences is here. There's
honestly, some of them they remind me of The Thing The Shape Hunts Allison. There's one of the chases that I was like, oh, this is, oh, wow.
It feels a lot like Andrew's referring to the 2018 or 20, I forget what year after that.
But it was 18. It was
the first movie? Okay.
I think it was the first. The Shape Hunts Allison is the first one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. I think there's some really great stuff here. So that stuff I all like a lot. So this is I would say this is kind of a lighter recommend for me, but still very good.
Yeah. I'll throw Natasha Lyonne as a voice of Christine, because ever since watching Poker Face, I put her voice in everything now.
Yeah, it's a fun voice to do, that cigarettes and whiskey voice.
I made her. I do it all the time for my boyfriend. I'll say other movie quotes as that, and then I was like, wouldn't it be great if she was the voice of Ghostface?
I would rather if Natasha Lyonne was the Harry Dean Stanton character, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we're going to put her in this movie, that's where she goes. Yeah. That's where she belongs.
Yeah.
But just like, hey, Arnie, what do you want to, I don't know, fix me up a little bit? Give me a little polish, a little transmission fluid?
Maybe I'll take care of the shitters that you hate so much.
Yes.
Anyway, that was the second half of John-uary here in March. Thank you so much for listening to the show and bearing with us as we had to do a cancellation there. Check us out on Facebook. Hit us up with a tweet at Dissect the 80s on Twitter. Don't forget to make those listener request calls, 856-347-7328. And visit patreon.com/dissecting the 80s to get more of our content, including Patreon folks get to pick another bonus episode. So there's a Patreon exclusive bonus episode coming in June, and a Patreon episode coming in April as well. So a lot of content coming your way on the Patreon at the $5 tier. Patreon.com/dissecting the 80s. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production. Ow!